Hello and guten Tag from Cologne, Germany. Welcome back to the channel. I had a little break of almost 3 weeks. I went to Munich to the Oktoberfest for my very first time to record there some videos for my other channel, POV walking tours, and yes, was really excited. Then I came back for a few days and then I went to London for 4 days and there are some recordings for my other channel too. But now I'm back. Now I have time again for new videos here on this channel. And did you know that October the 6th is the German American Day, a holiday in the USA? I heard about this day only a few weeks ago. And yeah, it's to celebrate the German American heritage and exists already since the 19th century, according to Wikipedia. And but it died out during the both world wars due to the anti-German atmosphere then, and was revived in 1983 by Ronald Reagan to celebrate the 300th anniversary of a town called Germantown in Pennsylvania, what is today part of Philadelphia. So I want to learn more about the history of German immigrants in the USA, and I found a video called "Why Did So Many Germans Immigrate to the USA?" It's from the channel called Knowledgia, and yeah, let's watch it together. Here we go. I'm really excited. One second, here we go.
According to the United States Census Bureau, the largest ethnic group in the United States of America is German. In 2009,
Really? The largest? Because I always thought it's probably British. That would make more sense, but really? Well, once again.
according to the United States Census Bureau, the largest ethnic group in the United States of America is German. In 2019, a whopping 43 million Americans described themselves as being of full or partial German ancestry,
Wow.
with Pennsylvania alone accounting for 3.5 million.
Okay.
So, there is no doubt that at some point in time, there were a lot of German immigrants crossing the Atlantic to reach America. But what exactly was the reason? What made so many Germans decide to leave all they'd ever known and owned behind to start a new life in the United States of America? The first notable wave of German settlers in the American colonies came near the end of the 17th century when William Penn, the founder of Pennsylvania, invited religious outcasts from Germany to come and settle in his colony. Many, facing religious persecution back home, eagerly accepted the invitation. For the following decades, German immigration to the colony would steadily increase. For the most part, these settlers were emigrating from the more southwestern regions of Germany, such as Baden, Württemberg, Palatinate, and the Rhineland. But they would not be the only Germans to make their way to Pennsylvania. By midway through the 1700s, these settlers had founded multiple cities, such as Germantown, Skippack,
Yeah, Germantown is the town that is now part of Philadelphia. But Skippack? I never heard about Skippack. Okay.
Conestoga. Upwards of 65,000 Germans had only recently made their way to the welcoming colony by the 1770s. But unfortunately, the influx of German immigrants would drastically decrease as the colonies inched closer and closer to the Revolutionary War. Numerous of the tens of thousands of settlers had left Germany not just for religious freedom, but also to flee from the effects of the 30 Years' War and subsequent conflicts that plagued Germany. Seeing such a large-scale war then break out in the New World, the dream of a new, safe, and promising home was shattered for many. For those
I don't know how famous or well known is the 30-year war. in Europe that was probably from 1612 to 1642 roundabout, and was a religious war. It was the Catholics and against the new Protestants. But honestly, I don't know much more than this. Yeah. But I didn't know that the impact of this wars did take so long, even many decades after that war.
Those who had already arrived in the colonies, though, life was not horrible. Though challenging, it seems that success in the New World was a true possibility for the hard-working immigrants. According to the Historical Society of Pennsylvania, the typical German immigrant was a poor farmer or artisan who arrived around 1750.
What is an artisan? 1 second, please. Artisan. I try to get all the details. Artisan. No. Handwerker. Okay, also a craftsman. I never heard the term artisan. Okay. Yeah, but it fits perfectly to Germany, a country of craftsmen. So.
With a wife and 2 children. They were most likely in debt for the passage across the Atlantic, but had family or friends already settled in America. They were affiliated with the Lutheran or Reformed Church, but only loosely committed to an organized religion. Records indicate that they became prosperous members of the community. However, many were too poor to pay the transatlantic passage, so as many as 1/2 to 2/3 of German immigrants came to Pennsylvania as indentured servants or redemptioners, as Germans called them. These redemptioners were essentially contracted servants for generally between 2.
They went to Pennsylvania, so there's a reason why the Germans there are called, or the German dialect that they are talking there, or still exists, is called Pennsylvania Dutch. But it's weird on the other side, because why is it called Pennsylvania Dutch then when they were German? And why don't you say Pennsylvania German? And I guess it's probably due to confusing, or because the Dutch language and the German language are really close to each other. It's like Spanish and Portuguese. Or maybe back in that days, as we're speaking about the 17th century, maybe German and Dutch were still the same language, only different dialects, and that's a historic fact that both language developed from the same language, but split it up then maybe after the Middle Age, because both languages, German and Dutch, developed in 2 other directions.
2 to 7 years, who would be forced to work for a particular employer to make up for the debts they owed and had incurred from their trip to America. And by the time the German influx had slowed, there were already, according to some historians, nearly 75,000 Germans living in Pennsylvania, and many others had immigrated to the rest of the colonies, or would come later on. There had been an almost constant trickle of Germans entering the New World ever since the founding of Jamestown. And even some of the German Hessian soldiers that had been employed by the British during the American Revolution had decided to stay in the United States at the end of the war. During the
There were German soldiers or fighters in the American Revolution. That's really interesting. I should react someday to the American Revolution, because I actually don't know anything, almost anything about this.
Early 1800s, more Germans had begun to make their way to America, though not in as large of waves due to famine back home. Others would come a few decades later due to the political strife in Germany, and during the 1850s, roughly 1 million
1 second. What is a strife? Strife. Streit, Zwist, Unmut. Okay, it's something bad. All right. Like a fight or argument. Never heard that word.
Germans arrived in the United States, making the total number of German-born Americans by the 1860s around 1.3 million. In the 1870s, over 100,000 Germans from Russia found their way to America after the Tsarist government stripped away privileges that had been granted to German farmers in Russia hundreds of years prior. The next decade would outshine all the rest, though, as around 1.5 million Germans came to the US just in the 1880s alone. This would be the peak, though, as the number of German-born Americans dropped from 2.9 million to 2.3 million between 1890 and 1910. Immigration had gone down drastically, and in 1920, the number had fallen even further, now sitting at 1.7 million. And even with the side effects of displacement caused by World War II, Americans born in Germany still only added up to 1.2 million after the start of the conflict. Germans would continue to immigrate over the following decades, as they still do today, but the number of them coming to America has nevertheless dropped remarkably. In 1990,
my name is Leila Basic. I'm account manager at Agilent here in Denmark. I'm here to see an installation.
Only 58 million Americans claimed to be German or partially German, even though others could be linked.
58 million Americans say they are full or partial German ancestry. That's crazy.
To German ancestors. But still, even if the number of Germans coming into America had already reached its high point, they have undoubtedly had a huge impact on the country. And it does seem that German remains the most dominant ethnic group in the country. The reasons for their migration are multiple. One reason that is often overlooked, though didn't account for the first wave of immigrants, was the stories told by Germans who had already made their new lives in America with great success. From Gottfried Duden's book to simple letter correspondence between German immigrants and those they knew back home, people in Germany began to hear about the opportunities and freedoms that the colonies and later United States had.
So I didn't understand. Who is Gottfried Duden? Because in Germany there's the German dictionary. The most famous one is called Duden, where you can read all the German words that that exist. Is it that book written by him? This dictionary. Gottfried Duden was a German immigrant and writer who wrote a book about his success in America. This photo is often attributed to him. So let's find out. 1 second, 1 minute. Gottfried, who was Gottfried Duden? Is that the man who wrote the very famous German dictionary? Was a German doctor who had big influence on the German immigration to America, because he published a travel report in 1829, I guess, about America then. Let's jump to Wikipedia. English, please. From Remscheid, from the town of Remscheid, that is really close to Cologne, here where I live. Was a German immigration writer. Is he the writer of the very famous German dictionary, or is it just the same name, just by coincidence? Doesn't say anything about this, so I guess no, it's just a coincidence. But alright, let's go back to the video.
From Gottfried Duden's book to simple letter correspondence between German immigrants and those they knew back home, people in Germany began to hear about the opportunities and freedoms that the colonies and later United States had to offer. Simple word of mouth is often all it takes. But still, there were many other factors that led to Germans crossing the ocean. For many, the feudal system back home left them yearning for more independence, as did other restrictions that had been placed on some, such as limits on marriages due to a fear of overpopulation.
Yeah, if you're wondering now why it says Holy Roman Empire and not Germany, because Germany as a real state, as a nation, was only founded in 1871. And yes, before that, that year, it was called in German Heiliges Römisches Reich, what means Holy Roman Empire, with many very little states and kingdoms. It's like here, I don't know, maybe up to 100 little provinces, very little states, and little kingdoms that are linked together, but weren't a full nation. And the Holy Roman Empire, the very whole kingdom, or empire, of course, empire, as it says, included also Belgium, maybe parts of France, and parts of some East European countries, and of course Italy in the south, and Austria and Switzerland. But I wonder from what year is this map now? Okay, let's go on.
A worsening economy. But the economy was already bad enough for numerous people. High taxes were a constant burden, and making a respectable living just seemed more likely in the New World, with news of lands being given to new settlers and industrialization later opening the door for more jobs outside of the typical farming. Furthermore, some communities in the German states were eager to get rid of the lower class anyway, and would even offer to come.
Ich hasse dich.
In the New World, with news of lands being given to new settlers and industrialization later opening the door for more jobs outside of the typical farming. Furthermore, some communities in the German states were eager to get rid of the lower class anyway, and would even offer to cover the costs of the journey to America if the immigrants promised to never return home. Other German men left illegally due to military service requirements, while more fled famine and frequent wars. And of course, as demonstrated by many of the original immigrants to the New World, religious freedom was often an important motivator. At the time, many were essentially told what to believe in, Catholicism or Protestantism, for example, by each monarch. For those with strong alternative beliefs who were unwilling to comply, fleeing the country became
yeah, that's I can understand that, because Germany, or the German little states and country, provinces and kingdoms were many of them, or almost all of them, were absolutely Catholic. Like also here, the region of Cologne, completely 100% Catholic. And when the Protestants came up during the mid or late 1600, yeah, it started a war later on between the Catholics and the Protestants. So it's a very good reason to escape from that.
A way for them to practice their faith in peace. Not only did the American colonies have freedom of religion, but as stated earlier, the founder of Pennsylvania himself had even invited these religious outcasts to settle in his colony.
Bevor du die nächsten Sachen kaufst, die deinen Darm wieder in Balance bringen sollen, der Grund für deine Beschwerden, die dich plagen, liegt an einer gekippten.
Of course, many reasons exist as to why people of any country immigrate to another, and this is far from an exhaustive list, though it is some of the main explanations that have been discovered. Without German immigrants, for example, Americans may not share the tradition of decorated Christmas trees, and the Brooklyn Bridge wouldn't have been built without a German immigrant engineer, business owners, military generals, scientists. There are dozens upon dozens of names of German immigrants who took the journey across the Atlantic and changed the future of the colonies and the United States. Today, Germans still immigrate to the US on occasion, but more significantly is the lasting effects of those who had already come. 6 states are believed to have over 30% of their total populations be made up by full or partial German Americans. Another 7 have an at least 20% ethnic German population, and of
wow, also did I get this right? So here, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, they have even more higher percent of ethnic German population than Pennsylvania and even Texas, because Texas also very famous for its German heritage due to the Texas Germans. That's incredible.
all 50 states, not a single one has a German population that makes up less than 4.5% of the state's entire population.
Wow.
Possibly one of the most impressive parts about this is that most immigrants from the German states have assimilated almost, if not entirely, into German American culture and identity, meaning that there really hasn't been an intentional preservation of German identity in America, though some German heritage societies and communities exist. For the most part, it's all thanks to the millions of people who braved the waters to start a new life in the United States that have made so much of America's roots German.
Thank you to Knowledgia. A really cool video. Really interesting. Well, today we are full of technical problems. I'm sorry for the cuts in the video. The next time I should take a different camera to shoot these reaction videos, because I don't know what's really the problem. I lose always maybe every 6 minutes the connection to the camera, or I don't know the problem. But this was a really cool video. Thanks to Knowledgia. I hope you like my video too, and please also give my video a thumb up, but also please like the original video too if you like it. And yeah, thank you really much for watching, and we will meet in the next video again. Goodbye und auf Wiedersehen. Ciao und tschö.